When Officer Michael Daniels woke, the sirens were gone. Only the emergency lights flashed across the blood-streaked corridor of Cell Block D. The air reeked of bleach and copper. His radio hissed, spitting bursts of static, but there were no voices, no orders, no backup. Every camera overhead had been smashed, their lenses glinting like broken eyes. He staggered forward, dizzy, calling out names. No answer. The cells stood open, each one empty. Inmate uniforms were scattered like shed skins. Daniels stepped over a spilled tray of pills, following the trail to the infirmary door, now hanging crooked from its hinges. Under a bed frame, something caught his boot, a small metal case stamped with a fading hospital label. Property of Rikers Medical Unit, confidential. Inside were yellowed folders filled with medical charts, injection records, and photographs. He flipped through them, his pulse quickening. Prisoners strapped to metal gurneys, wired to machines that didn't belong in any hospital. Each file was stamped Project Lotus in red ink. One document froze him. Inmate number 76291, deceased, Lyro 214. Daniels knew the man. He'd spoken to him 2 days ago, alive, laughing. He looked up as the emergency light flickered out and came back on dimmer than before. In the distance, the basement access light switched from red to green. His radio came alive with a whisper, calm and deliberate. "Leave D-Block now. They're collecting evidence." Daniels grabbed the files and ran. The basement level of Rikers was never meant for guards. It was built decades ago, converted from an old storage area into something unofficial. Daniels moved quietly, his flashlight tracing rusted pipes and thick electrical cords that ran into sealed rooms labeled only by number. The first door he opened led to an observation chamber. Inside were cameras, microscopes, and boxes of vials, each tagged with inmate numbers. In the corner, an unplugged monitor flickered once, showing a single paused frame. 3 inmates strapped down, one doctor's face blurred. Daniels booted up an old terminal. The system loaded grainy security footage dated years back. He watched as prisoners were escorted in at night, given injections, and loaded into unmarked vans before dawn. None of them appeared again in later footage. Footsteps echoed behind him. Daniels killed the monitor and ducked behind a metal cabinet. 2 men in gray tactical gear entered, private contractors, not DIOS officers. Their patches read Stonebridge Security, a firm he'd only heard mentioned in payroll rumors. "They said someone tripped the camera feed," one muttered. "Check the lab." Daniels stayed still, barely breathing. The other man opened the drawer where the files had been stored, frowning. "The folders are gone. He's here somewhere." Daniels slipped through a side door, sprinting down the narrow hallway. Gunshots rang out, echoing like thunder in a tunnel. He darted through the laundry chute, landing hard in the old storage level below. His flashlight cracked, but the folders were still clutched in his hand. He knew now. This wasn't a random riot. Someone had staged the entire lockdown to erase what was left of Project Lotus. By dawn, Daniels had made it to the staff quarters above the administrative wing. He barricaded himself inside an old laundry room and spread the documents across a table. Every folder connected to Terralin Biotech, a private medical contractor supposedly dissolved 5 years earlier. The reports described behavioral compliance trials, chemical programs designed to suppress aggression in violent inmates through neural conditioning. But most patients never made it past Phase 2. One line in a memo chilled him. Subjects unfit for release are to be listed as deceased and reassigned to RD units for further observation. It wasn't rehabilitation. It was human experimentation. Daniels pulled out a small flash drive and began scanning each page. His plan was simple: get the data out, contact a reporter he once trusted. But before he could finish, the power cut out. The hum of the lights vanished. A voice from the darkness. "You went too far, officer." He turned, flashlight beam trembling. A man in a black suit stood by the doorway, badge clipped to his belt. Federal seal, maybe legit, maybe not. "You don't understand what you're holding," the man said calmly. "This program keeps certain people alive, the right people." Daniel's pulse pounded. "You're experimenting on inmates." The man smiled faintly. "We're saving lives, just not theirs." He reached for his holster. Daniels grabbed the flash drive and dove through the window, shattering glass into the dawn. The next morning, local news reported a containment breach in a Rikers storage wing. No mention of Daniels. His name was quietly removed from staff records before noon. 2 days later, a journalist named Karen Ellis received an anonymous email with a download link titled Lotus Files. She opened it and found encrypted footage, inmate photos, and internal memos implicating both Rikers officials and Terralin Biotech. She began drafting her story immediately. That night, her laptop shut down mid-sentence. When she restarted it, the file was gone. So was the email. The next morning, her editor told her to drop the lead. "It's already been handled," he said, refusing to explain. Meanwhile, in an archive warehouse near Queens, an unmarked box was quietly added to a government evidence vault. On the side, in fading marker, were the words, "Project Lotus, closed." Inside, among the files, lay a broken flash drive labeled Daniels. No public record ever mentioned him again. No official inquiry was opened. The warden's report listed the incident as a containment drill malfunction. And deep under Rikers Island, behind reinforced concrete and sealed steel doors, the basement lights flickered back on.